There's still some open slots on Hack Fortress, so if you fancy yourself a hacker or TF2 player, please head down there and sign up. First game's at 10 o'clock tomorrow. That's where the open slots are. But we could certainly use some players. In general, I'd encourage you to head down the hallway when you get a chance. Check out the contest. Check out all the stuff that's going on. There's really cool art installation there. There's art itself. There's all kinds of great things. So any other announcements I should be making? All right. Well, I'm going to... hey, Ted and David, you guys ready-ish? You're rolling. Sweet. So Space Rogue's going to give a talk. I don't want to spoil it for you. I think he pitched us on an hour. We said, no, you only get 20 minutes, dude. We're not going to give you an hour. I consider Space Rogue the arbiter of bullshit in the cybersecurity community.
Just like you.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah.
I bow to your rant this morning.
Yeah, we're the yin to each other's yang or something like that. But got a little intimate there real quick. Space Rogue's been doing this a long time. I got a lot of respect for the man. I think this is one of those no bullshit talks that people need to hear, so we're pretty excited to do it. I know he's only got 20 minutes, so we're going to let him loose now.
Thanks. Big praise from you. Thanks. And again, big props on the rant this morning. All right, who's my time guy that's going to tell me how much time I have left? All right. Be sure you let me know when I have 5, because I'm going to have to rapid fire through this talk. It's going to be quick, and I'm going to have to ask you to read some of the slides because I'm not going to have time to stop on them. So, 35 years of cyber war, the squirrels are winning. Brief disclaimer this morning, I think Bruce already talked about this. I am going to say cyber. And animals are going to die. So if you have a problem with that, I'm going to have to ask you to leave. Who am I? I'm Space Rogue, Cyber Squirrel 1. Question, raise your hands. How many people have heard of Cyber Squirrel 1 before this talk? Okay, not many. I got to do a better job. I've done some things in the past, big deal, they don't matter. I don't want you to listen to me. I'm going to steal this from Bruce also because I'm up on the stage, because I have a resume, whatever. Take what I say, do your own research, draw your own conclusions, be the hacker you want to be. I am a strategist at Tenable Network Security right now. They did pay me to be here today, but I'm not talking for them, I'm talking for myself today. All right, before we can talk about squirrels, we have to talk about cyber war. This is probably one of the better definitions I've ever seen. Actions by a nation state to penetrate computer systems for purposes of causing damage. This is a great definition, and it excludes a ton of stuff that a lot of people equate with cyber war, excuse me. Excludes hacktivists, it excludes criminal gangs, it excludes reconnaissance, port scans, espionage, which is most of what we're seeing today that is being called cyber war. Really, so Electronic Warfare Center was established in 1975. That's where I get my 35 years from. Cyber War is Coming is the preeminent report that was done in 1993. The earliest mention of the term cyber war that I can find is 1990. So cyber war predates the age of some of the people in this room. It's not a new concept. Really, when we talk about cyber war, we talk about two things. We talk about destruction of financial markets, and we talk about the electric grid. Those are really the two things that when you talk cyber war, that's really what it comes down to. Today we're going to talk about the electric grid. I have a few interesting quotes up here. 100% certainty of catastrophic failure of the electric grid in 3 years. That was in 2012. Lights are still on, I think? Yeah. Okay. And of course we have a quote by the preeminent InfoSec expert Ted Koppel. And he wrote the book, that's right. That's why I quoted him, because he's wrote a book. He must know what he's talking about. An imminent danger, this was like last week, imminent danger of cyber attack. So there's a lot of FUD out there. One attack is too many. This goes back to what's known as the Cheney Doctrine, or the 1% doctrine. If it was a 1% chance of something occurring, we must deploy 100% of our resources to prevent it. This is basically Iraq, and now we're applying it to cyber war, and we're equating cyber to nukes and MAD, and it doesn't work that way. We really can't follow the Cheney doctrine when it comes to cyber. All right, let's talk about some of the attacks that we have seen in the past that have been reported on by the press that we think are cyber war. Let's talk about some that did not actually happen first, but were called hacks, if you will. Brazil power outage, how many have heard of this? Wow. So I'm dismayed at the number of hands. A cyber attack supposedly in Brazil caused a power outage, lasted several weeks. reported on by 60 Minutes, actually made it into State of the Union address by President Obama. Richard Clark had a lot to say about it. Never happened. Was soot on the insulators. There was a pipeline explosion in Turkey, supposedly in 2008. This was reported on by Bloomberg. This predates Stuxnet, if it actually happens. But when you dig into the story and you dig into the facts, there's a lot more evidence to say it's the local rebel group who used conventional explosives, especially since the valve that was supposedly tampered with that caused the backup, that caused the explosion, wasn't connected to the internet. So I don't know how that's a cyber attack. But anyway, imagine that. Couple more false ones. Illinois' water pump failure. Anybody hear that one? Even less hands. Wow. So this, a water pump fails in Illinois because water pumps sometimes they fail, right? And in their after action, they look at the logs and they see some IP addresses from Russia. This gets reported to the FBI Fusion Center. It gets leaked to the press, and the headline is "Russians hack water plant." Russians hack water pump. But what actually happened was. And there's a picture of this guy here. This guy, a third-party contractor, was on vacation in Russia, heard the water pump failed, remoted in, which is a whole world of problems in and of itself right there, but we're not going to get into that. And so that's why his IP addresses show up in the logs. The flood control dam in 2013, I hope some people heard about this because we levied sanctions against Iran on this. The dam had no power generation capabilities. It was a flood control dam that was broken. And so basically Iran or whoever did a port scan and we ended up levying sanctions against the country. Some cyber attacks that were basically unconfirmed. The Aurora generator test, this is confirmed, but it's in a lab environment. Basically they tried to see if they could blow up a generator and they did, but a generator does not equal a transformer, and we'll get to that. German steel mill in December 2014. This is really unconfirmed. There's a lot of holes in this story. No one's been able to determine which steel plant it was. Blackouts in Turkey. This was announced a week ago. An official in Turkey blamed the United States for taking out their power. But, you know, PCAPs or it didn't happen, right? All right, these ones actually happened. Worcester, Mass. Airport, 1997. Basically just disabled the phone systems for like 2 hours. Big deal. He did get sentenced to jail for that one. It's too bad. Stuxnet. Stuxnet is huge. Stuxnet right now is the benchmark that we need to measure ourselves against. Multiple countries, multiple coding teams, hundreds of hours of effort. This was not a simple kid in a basement trying to take out the power. This was a major multinational effort. And I can't understate how much effort was put into Stuxnet. It's really a big deal. If you haven't read it yet, Countdown to Zero's a highly recommended book. Ukraine power outages, both last year and this year. There's been 2 now. Both are confirmed cyber attacks. Pretty much everybody thinks they're Russia, but we have no confirmation. But the power outage lasts for like 6 hours. Like we have power outages all the time that last for 6 hours. Big deal. So the inspiration for Cyber Squirrel 1, we talked a little bit about squirrels. Everybody know Josh Corman, attrition.org? He gave a talk along with Jericho at attrition.org at ThoughtCon, where they talked about Cyberwar, what they thought it would be, what it thought it would look like, and of course Jericho, being a fan of the furry woodland creatures, researched and found a power outage caused by an animal in every state, including Hawaii. Even though there are no squirrels there, they do have chickens. So with that, after I saw that talk, I was like, maybe we should start like looking at all these cyber attacks by squirrels, and Cyber Squirrel 1 was born on March 19th, 2013. I created the Twitter account, and basically it was just I had a Google alert for news, and I would tweet every now and then whenever news came across. But I decided to take it a step further, and we'll get into that. Okay, so why Cyber Squirrel 1? Basically to counteract the ludicrous cyber war claims. You saw those quotes that I had earlier in the talk. It's really at an epic, unbelievable level, some of the, I'm going to say it, bullshit that gets peddled as fact by people at high levels of government and industry who are really just spouting stuff they don't know anything about. So we're trying to counter some of that FUD that's out there. So how does Cyber Squirrel 1 operate? I searched Google News, I searched Bing News, I searched Twitter. I look for verified reports of an outage caused by an animal, and we put them in a spreadsheet. I have that in the next slide. So some people say, why don't you talk to the DOE? Don't they track power outages across the country. Well, they do, but they have to impact 50,000 people and last for at least an hour. We have power outages less than, that's like, I have 2 of those out of all the power outages that I'm tracking. There's also something called Eagle One, and if anybody's familiar with Eagle One, please come talk to me afterwards. It's basically a website scraping tool that scrapes power company information so that you can have a real-time view of all the power outages in the country at any one time. It's only available to government employees, which I could probably fake, but but it's polling website data, and that's always really accurate. Anyway, so here's my spreadsheet. I was tracking perfectly fine with date, location, and then that was it, right? And then Jericho, after I was doing this for like a year, he's like, dude, you're Cyber Squirrel 1. I'm like, yeah, isn't that cool? He's like, yeah, let me into your data. And so then we started tracking all this other stuff, and he basically took my data and ran, and we'll get into that too. So here's my map. This was a Fiverr project, cost me $40. Actually worked for Fiverr, yay. So I'm just scratching the surface when I actually track some of these outages. So as you see some of these quotes, 560 power outages in Montana in 2015 caused by squirrels. I have 2 of those, all right? What I got, 7 minutes? Yeah, shit. So basically, if these numbers are accurate, the squirrels aren't just like winning the cyber war, they're crushing it. There's just so many cyber power outages. Okay, quotes. Squirrels are a big threat to the grid. Black swan events. So when we talk about cyber war and we talk about electrical grids, a lot of people point to something called a cascading failure, where there's a power outage in one location, draws power from the neighboring location, which can't handle it, which draws power from the next neighboring location, and you end up with a large, widespread power outages over a large area. So we really can't, so if we look at historically at the power outages in the past, we can't really look at anything before Y2K because of Y2K. A lot of effort put in making the grid more resilient. There was also the National Energy Policy Act of 2005, which created federal reliability standards for the grids. So if we look at the Northeast blackout of 2003 and the Southwest blackout of 2011, which are really the only 2 events that we can look at as classic cascading failures across a wide area, they basically had power restored in less than 24 hours. Yeah, that's Cybergeddon for you right there. All right, attack surface of the U.S. power grid is huge. If you're looking to attack the U.S. grid, you have a lot of targets that you have to reconnaissance and examine and figure out how you're going to attack them so you can coordinate your attack. I'm tracking over 1,700 confirmed outages right now caused by animals. That's almost 5 million people. If you were to consolidate that power into one location, we could basically take out the power of San Francisco metropolitan area for over 2 months. Some numbers that we have, squirrels are our #1 operative. We have a lot of other operatives, including jellyfish, which we will get to. This is our world domination map. I can't always get, I only speak English, unfortunately. I apologize. So it's hard to find outages in other countries. If you speak another language, please feel free to Google and send me some links. All right, where are my numbers? Numbers, yeah, big deal. Outages by month, I'm going to skip that slide. So when you let Jericho into your data, he tends to break things out into obscene levels. And so we're tracking bird outages by bird type. Notice the #2 outage there is by bird nest. We also broke out reptiles. I have 3 frog outages, but those aren't reptiles, they're amphibians. So we're also tracking boil water advisories. Thanks, Jericho. I do have valid targets for military installations. I do have 8 people killed. People say it isn't war unless people die. So 8 people have died. I like to go through all these individually, but I don't have time, so we'll just have a brief moment of silence. Hey, no laughing. People died, man. All right, the 9 substation problem. In 2013, there was an incident in Metcalfe, California, where a paramilitary group had a mad minute that lasted 19 minutes on a substation and fired several hundred 7.62 rounds into the substation, causing millions of dollars of damage. As a result of that incident, the Federal Energy Regulatory Commission conducted a study. Their study claims that if you take out 9 substations in the United States, it would cause a nationwide blackout for up to 18 months. That is a democracy-ending event, in my opinion. But you have to take out 9 substations, right? Project Grid Strike happened in 2016. Same study, but limited to open source intelligence. In other words, the Russians could do this too. Take 15 substations. All right, Major targets. CERN, hit them 3 times. NASDAQ, twice. Strange shit. Bird nests. This is actually a big problem, especially along the eastern seaboard where there's a lot of ospreys. These are protected animals. You can't just move their nest. Jellyfish. This blew me away when I figured this out. I've got 13 outages attributed to jellyfish. Basically, they get stuck in the intake tanks, the inflows of the power companies. Okay, this one went viral a little while ago. You may have seen it. This is not a squirrel. This is a bird who picked up 300 pounds of acorns and stuffed them in this microwave dish. I've got an outage by a slug, caterpillars, lots of them. Birds cannot carry stuff. I don't know why. They tend to drop it, and they drop it on power lines. Like, what the hell? Strange shit, literal strange shit. Streamers, they're called. They're called streamers. Birds shit on power lines, and it causes an outage. Moose, yes. When Heidi told me I was accepted, she said I had to include a moose outage. This is the only one I could find. How am I doing on time? Oh, good. Plenty of time. So, yeah, this moose unfortunately got tangled up in the wires, and they pulled the wires taut when they were running them, and he got strung up. The PH here, anybody know who that stands for? Heidi Potter. Whatever, it's on my phone that way, whatever. So, yeah, ants hit her fiber, and she had to get new fiber strung. Sorry, Heidi. Lewiston, Maine, I have a whole rant that goes on this slide. Basically, they love your Christmas lights because they're soy-based plastic. They also love your cars. Sharks. Strange shit. Iranians arrested 14 squirrels. This is a valid news story out of Iran. I have no other information other than what Iran news reported. There are defenses that power companies can put in place. Squirrel guards, various things to prevent birds landing on them. I don't know how big this industry is. It's hard to get a handle on. If there's any representatives from the power defense industry, I would love to talk to you, or maybe you could sponsor me, whatever. There is an IEEE Triple E standard, 1264-2015, Guide for Animal Deterrence in Electric Power Supply Stations. It's a $71 PDF. Anybody wanting to spring for that, I'd be more than happy. So, company defenses bypassed. Yeah. Chicken glory. That's Jericho again. All right, conclusion. What I got? 3 minutes now? 2? Okay. Prophesized for 35 years. This is not a new problem. It's been around for a while. Cyberwar, in one form or another, has been prophesized for a while. Hang on. No, this is not. There we go. Any major nation state, China, Russia, Iran, is going to want to keep the power on. We are a highly computerized society. If they shut the power off, they have no idea what we're doing. Yes, that's true. Minor threat actors, North Korea, hacktivists, ISIS, they lack the time, the money, the desire, and the coordination to pull off a black swan event. I remind you of the attack surface, how huge it is. You have to, when you look at the 9 substation problem, you actually have to physically destroy those substations, not just turn their computers off, in order for that to be an issue. All right, causing a power outage and keeping the power out are 2 different things. And I point to Ukraine on this, where the power went out for about 6 hours the first time and like an hour and a half the second time. So power outages by cyber attack are possible, and they will happen. Cascading failures that cause nationwide blackouts, Cybergeddon, I don't think so. Yes, there is a risk, right? There's informational risk, there's physical security risk. Most power companies, it's pretty bad. That risk is nowhere near the level of hype that we're seeing in regards to cyber war, and that's no more important today. And with all the news that's going around about the DNC and everything else that's happening, the U.S., we have to remember, the United States has reserved the right to respond to a cyber attack with kinetic forces. That should scare the shit out of everybody in this room. Squirrels. That's all I got. I do have a few limited stickers with me. If you want a sticker, I will trade them for booze. Oh, and I got a booze right here. Thank you.